Hello and welcome to the Be the CEO of Your Life live show. I'm Yvonne Dam and I help driven business owners to grow their business to the next level in 20% less time. And in this show, I invite inspiring guests and some people that have to tell you something. And today I'm joined here by Tim. Hi, Tim.
Hi there. Hi, Yvonne.
So, Tim, can you introduce yourself to the people that are watching?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Tim Clements. I live in South London. I've been in the hospitality industry for over 30 years, and I've been working with mental health and mental well-being for over 20 years. I'm married. I have 3 children, and I have my own coaching practice and hospitality business.
Right. Yeah. So let's start there because when we were chatting earlier, it all kind of started when there was a family business and that didn't turn out well. And the
That's right.
reason why I want to highlight this is because there is still a big taboo on failed businesses, whereas many businesses fail. And many of the clients I work with, they have a history of something that didn't work out. Sometimes it's a failed business, but sometimes it's a massive thing that's holding them back. And you actually managed to turn your failed business or the family failed business into a thriving business. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. Well, I was very lucky. Um, my failed business was in a country where there was lots of sunshine. So even when the business was failing, there was still lovely sunshine going on. But it was part of a family business in the east of Portugal. It was actually not. It was a family business rather than my business, and it came as a consequence of um, financial crisis. Essentially, all of the considerations and factors and everything that could possibly make it as difficult as it probably could be all happened and or climaxed all at that point in time. And the consequence of it was just overstretched, underfinanced, and under-resourced. And one of the businesses because it was a group of businesses, one of them that hung in there by its fingernails was a business that was preserving fruit, making a Portuguese specialty preserved fruit called an Elvish plum. It was very special. It had been invented by nuns in the 16th century. Kings and queens had enjoyed it from the 16th century onwards. And it had been imported into the UK and shipped around the world by the port wine shippers. And what was special about this, and it's actually very interesting, just even as I'm talking about this, I remember that what I learned at that point in time was, in order to survive, make sure that you have producing something that is of quality. Make sure that you're doing the best that you can and to the best people that you can provide it to, offering the best service that you can possibly offer. And so what happened was, what that looked like for me was jumping in a van and importing it and distributing it in the UK. In fact, it then turned into the business grew to 500,000, and I also shipped it around the world to the States, to Australia, to Canada. We were supplying a lot of people in a lot of different places. Mail order business grew, and it just grew and grew. And what I did was I added to it. And the reason why it turned into a thriving business was because instead of focusing very much on the one particular product, we widened it out and we said, okay, let's tell the world about what Portuguese specialty food is about the world. Let's tell London anyway, London and the UK. And so what I did was I began to do street food, and I offered a range of this wonderful Portuguese specialty food to delicatessens and restaurants. And in order to teach them and educate them, I then did street food and did a market stall or did a party, or just added these wonderful ingredients into the range of offerings that I was making available to the public and telling them about it. So it was an education process, and it grew. And it grew, and my experience in hospitality grew.
Tim, now everybody, Katie and me are both hungry now. So Can we still order that special fruit? Is it still available?
No, sadly, it was the sort of thing that was really appreciated by the older generations. And
Oh,
then when we started to, I mean, you can still get it, but it's different. It's not the artisanal production. It's now the industrial production. There were only two of us that were making this particular type of preserved fruit. And what happened was one of us was artisanal, which was us, and then the other was industrial. And they do still bring it in, and it is supplied, and you can get it at places like Harrods and Fortnum's, I would imagine, still now. But
Katie's but Katie's in the US.
Katie's in the US. No, you might be able to find it through Zimmerman's. Might be
Okay,
able to get it on mail order through Zimmerman's.
right. Okay, so Katie, we'll put the link underneath the video when we're done. So, for people watching.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of experience in hospitality, and you're launching something for the hospitality branch right now. Now we were chatting because you're in London, I'm in the Netherlands. Hospitality worldwide is under a huge strain right now. I really feel so much for the people that are in hospitality. So tell me, what are you doing that you can help those companies, sometimes on the verge even of failing, and not even because, let's be honest, some things are just unforeseen. So how can you help those in hospitality, to learn from your lessons?
Sure. So well, one of the biggest challenges that hospitality is facing at the moment is staff,
Right. Yes.
finding the staff.
Yeah.
And then even when they do find the staff, it's actually keeping them.
Yeah.
What's happened as a consequence of, at least in the UK, because of Brexit and COVID, is a lot of the workforce have returned to their countries to be
Yes.
with their families.
Yeah, I think it's I know that's in the US, staff is a huge issue here in the Netherlands as well. So I think it's a global trend,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah.
And so what I have done from my experience of working in the hospitality industry, the most important thing for me was people work for people. When I made my employees feel valued and special, and looked after them, and made sure that they were aware that I wasn't a pushover, it's still demanding, but I was also aware of their well-being, they would support me.
Yeah.
And so what I've designed is an offering which is called My Mental Kitchen Training and Mentoring Program. And the core of this is to support hospitality businesses to empower their staff into being aligned, and also to retain their staff in focusing on their mental health and their mental well-being, supporting them with creating healthy work-life balances, making them feel valued in the workplace by communicating with them in a powerful and boundaried and yet clear and fair way.
Yeah.
And I've had some great input from great people, including Michelin-starred chefs. So the principle of this is not just to create sort of a cozy, warm, endorphin-filled training of happy workforces, although of course that's important, but it's also to let them know that in order to be the best, there are certain things that have to be achieved.
Yeah.
And the way to achieve that is by doing it through getting the communication right, and then including them. So the inclusivity and the transparency of the work, of bringing the workforce together and saying, so this is what I want from my business as the business owner or as the HR or whatever. This is what we want. Is this the sort of organization you'd like to work for?
Yeah.
And if it is, this is what we see that needs to be done. What do you think needs to be done?
Yeah.
And so what it does is also, this training also builds in safety valves, where what happens is the power and the control isn't just handed over to everybody. There's still It's still maintained, it's still controlled, it's still monitored. The implementation process is evaluated as it goes along. And what it does is it brings everybody together, and it does it through clear communication and defining the outcomes and objectives so that they're shared by everyone in the organization, or at least the key players. Yeah.
So there are a couple of things while listening to you. I really love it. I think many of my clients, the people that I work with, a huge mistake is often made, and you already addressed it. It's like, let's make it cozy. Let's make it, such a nice, happy. You said happy place, and now immediately have that song like happy, that awful song. That's immediately stuck in my mind. So thanks for
I'm
that.
not going to start singing, Yvonne.
But you know what I mean. But it's often a mistake that's made, right? So I want to bind my people to me. Let's be friendly. And I think the more, like you're saying, the more clear you are as this is what my business is, where we're going, this is the goal, this is the vision. I know that you also work with values and really build the culture around it. But I think it's important. And I love what you say about setting boundaries, because this is where I often see it go wrong. That it's actually quite easy to run a business and to be all friendly, and it's quite easy when everything goes right. But if we tie it back to what you started with, your lesson learned, that you have to provide high quality services and high quality of everything you offer, you can't go without boundaries, because if there isn't a clear set of rules even about how you need to perform and how you need to act, it's not going to work. So can you share something with us around that? Because I would really like to hear that. Yeah,
sure. So for me, it starts with actually, let's say when you're in a restaurant and you're sitting at a table.
Yeah.
And you're waiting for your food, but what you can hear is a vibe of something's going on in the kitchen. There's stress. There's some sort of a conflict going on between the guys on the pass and the front of house. Either the service isn't coming in fast enough, or the food's not coming out as it should be. So there's a dialogue that's going on. That communication can be done in such a way where it's so stressful trying to get out 100 covers in a 45-minute lunchtime, or whatever it is, whatever the size of that restaurant, the stress that is put on, the workload that's put on the front of house and on the kitchen, the stress that comes from that, when it begins to manifest in a way where the front of house and the guys on the pass or the chefs start having a go at each other, it just creates a bad vibe for the customer.
Yeah.
When the communication is clear, there can be, what happens is, first of all, the first thing to do is to get people to just stop and take a breath.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds so, stop and take a breath. Yeah, right. But it's like just get a little microscopic awareness of the only way that this is going to get sorted out is if I don't lose it here. And in doing that, you get the opportunity just to get a little bit of perspective, a little bit of helicopter view, and an opportunity to go, well, what's the data? What is actually happening here? Is this something that we're doing, or is it something that front of house? And separate out what's actually going. Then, well, what is happening? Why is that happening? What's the judgments? What's going on around what's happening here? And then go to that place of, well, yes, this is the facts, and this is what's happening. But is it the same for you? Is this what you're seeing? And that it can be so quick when it's refined, and that communication can happen in such a way succinctly that the two can talk to each other with a way of getting clarity that just says, this is what's actually happening. This is the data. This is what I think is going on. And what happens is, right, what do we need to in order to resolve it? And so then what happens is people where that situation is occurring have had the opportunity to be able to just get that helicopter view, get that perspective, identify what needs to happen to sort it out. It gets sorted out, and the customer begins to get a happy experience because their situation's resolved.
Yeah.
All of this comes down to communication. And the thing is, what the important part of this is, it doesn't happen in the communication in the moment. It's got to happen beforehand. It's got to have happened while they're having staff lunch.
Yeah.
For instance, taking a breath. Did the guy who showed up, did he actually miss lunch? Is he actually hungry? What's actually going on? What's going? Has he got stuff going on at home? Is he under financial pressure? What's going? And this is where the mental health and the work-life balance, people begin to get an awareness of each other, and the team builds, and they begin to work out what's going on for you. I'm aware of what's happening for you. There's a safe space. They can be as vulnerable as they choose to be. And then what happens is, that's a different story, and we'll maybe get to that a bit later. But then what happens is the communication begins to go in a nice, smooth, clear way, and the situation is resolved. So that's a little example.
Yeah, I like that. So Tim, when people want to reach out to you, and you run the My Mental Kitchen training and mentoring. That's the name of the program. Yep. You're running it now, especially for hospitality businesses all over the world, because we were discussing it's really not just UK. You are in the UK, but it's a global problem, and your program is open for English speaking. We were just talking about it. English speaking people all around the world that would like to get their business up and improving. So if they want to reach out, it's best to reach out through the website, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So,
send me an email.
Yeah, timclements.com. So now what I would like to know, and we this is an interesting question from Katie, and I can imagine in the hospitality world, people speak different languages. We actually have Dimitri watching from Guatemala. Now, Dimitri is fluent in English and Spanish, but it happens, right? So how do you manage different languages? It's something that comes up.
Yeah. So I speak Portuguese, Spanish, and French. So when it comes to actually delivering the training, it can be delivered in different languages. But it's not really about me. It's about what happens. I think if I'm getting Katie's question right, it's about the communication in the workplace.
That's the question.
Yeah. And so what I do with this training, and this is where it's so important in the communication, is to actually identify what is it that you're currently doing, what is working, and what's not working. And so for instance, there has to be a communication.
Yeah.
So if there's someone who speaks little English, what is currently happening at the moment to make that communication happen with that person who has, if it's in majority of the English, if it's an English-based workplace, what is happening with that person who doesn't speak the language? How do they communicate? And get so important is to actually identify the reality of actually what's going on, what's really going on at the moment, because from there we can then go, okay, so this is what I would like to happen, or this is what we identify as a group, because My Mental Kitchen is done as a group coaching session.
Yeah.
And so we identify within the group, what do we want? What's the common objective? What's the agreed outcome of the group? Do we agree that this is possible? If it is possible, then great. How are we going to do it? What is actually happening? And then what are the challenges in order to make that happen? So the group identifies for itself what needs to happen in order to achieve that end outcome. So how do we handle the languages? Well, we work out what's going on currently, what needs to happen for yourselves, where they identify it for yourselves, and then implement those. And then on an ongoing basis, monthly, because the My Mental Kitchen training mentoring program has 4 sessions of 3 hours, which are run weekly. And then it has monthly 3-hour sessions, which adopt the action set learning principles. And in that, we begin to look at what's actually going, how are these identified changes being implemented, and let's monitor them in these groups. So you then see whether it's them working on an ongoing basis from there.
Okay, I love it. Tim, we already going to the end of the show, so I
Wow.
know we can talk for hours, and I think everybody, if you have more questions, reach out to Tim for sure, because as you can hear, he's got a wealth of knowledge. Um, but talk to me, how, because this show is called Be the CEO of Your Life. How do you feel you are the CEO of your life?
How do I feel I'm CEO? Such a great question, Yvonne. It's such a great thing that you're doing here. It's so empowering, and for me, that's what it is about. Being the CEO of my life is about empowering myself into believing that I can bring what I value into reality, and the only way that I do it is by asking. For me, the way that I do it is by surrounding myself with people who are of agreed same mindset and that want to grow as well. And I think that's such an important thing. Yeah. So how am I the CEO? I identify what I want for my life, and then I reach out and share it, just like we're doing here, and ask for support from others to help me, and I offer them support as well. So that's how it's through connection,
I
through
love
connection.
that. I love that. I think it's a very powerful message. It's something that I always also share. Make sure that you surround yourself by the right people, but also ask for support, because not always, you don't always have to do it on your own. I think you're actually more powerful when you get help. So the final question, did we skip something? Is there a final remark from your side before we end up the show?
I think the only thing that I want to add to this is that what my Mental Kitchen training and mentoring program provides is a platform for HR and business owners to explore with their teams what's working and what's not working, and to identify what they would like to happen in their business. We do lay it as a foundation on 4 different modules, which is the first one's about communication, next one's about cohesion, next one's about culture, and then the last module is about change management. And that creates those are the cornerstones of creating a foundation that then allows this program to have its ripple through effect through the workforce, bringing them together, aligning them, and helping the business owners to retain their staff.
Excellent. Okay, so everybody who wants to speak to Tim, reach out, feel free. And this
Please.
was today's Be the CEO of Your Life live show. Great that you're watching. And if you're watching, you're amazing. And don't you forget about it. Till next time. Tim, thank you so much.